Growing numbers of schools have begun recognising the link between emotional well-being and learning, and have started introducing strategies to support both pupils and staff.
YoungMinds has developed the YoungMinds in Schools project to support emotional well-being in schools. One thing that we're doing as part of the project is going into schools and listening to professionals, parents and pupils and asking them what works well in their schools. And then sharing that with schools in their locality or wider through posting it on our website.
A group of schools YoungMinds has been working with in Tottenham in North London are sharing their good practice.
We do a number of things to support the emotional well-being of our pupils. So first of all, we've set the environment, which is key. It's kind of quite an open ethos and homely place. Creating a well-structured, calm atmosphere with very clear boundaries enables children to feel emotionally very secure while they're at school. And that enables them to do well in the learning environment. The hardest time for most children emotionally is lunchtime, because that's the time when they spend most of the time on their own and they have to negotiate with their peers in order to play games, and that's when they might get upset with each other. And so usually at the end of playtime we have an exercise session. It's a kind of Zumba, so it's quite sort of active and quite loud music, and the children are encouraged to really exercise because we believe it's about working off all those frustrations, and having a healthy body is really key to that sense of well-being.
Okay, crossovers. Let's crossovers. One.
At the end of Zumba, we have introduced crossovers, which comes from Brain Gym. And after crossovers, they do hookups to calm them down, ready to come in, hopefully calm again.
Listen to the sound of the bell as it fades away.
On returning to class, the children take part in a whole class mindfulness exercise.
Gently breathing, relax your legs.
The school introduced the routine to every class after discovering its benefits through YoungMinds in Schools training. Another local school, Wellbeing Primary, has found the most effective way of using a therapist who comes in 1 day a week.
When I first came to the school, the previous therapist only saw children one-to-one. So the head teacher wanted a more integrated counselling approach, so I set up Talk Time. It's a lunchtime drop-in service for children in years 5 and 6. Children are able to put in a request slip into a worry box. That way they know that I'll come by on a Tuesday morning, empty the box and prioritise which children I'm going to see that day. There are 4 slots in any one lunchtime, so I see children for up to 15 minutes. They have come and discussed with me issues ranging from parental conflict, bereavement, divorce and separation, bullying and friendship issues. I have a range of toys and art materials in the room. Children can find it difficult to verbalise exactly what it is they're feeling, so I will say, show me how you're feeling. Sometimes they want to come and play out what's going on at home, so they'll take my doll's house and they'll set the figures up and they'll play out scenarios. Children are often holding a lot of feelings and emotions inside which interfere with their learning.
Wellbeing Primary has also employed a learning mentor who has particular responsibility for emotionally vulnerable children.
We have a full-time learning mentor whose role is to support children's emotional well-being and their learning, because the two go hand in hand.
So who would like to begin tuning this week? Nevaeh, would you please?
I'm upset because my cousin's in hospital.
I'm really sorry to hear that.
One of the most important things she does is run some intervention groups for targeted groups of children. So, for example, she runs a girls' friendship group.
And Nevaeh, if I heard you right, you were saying that somebody who's close to you is in hospital and you're very worried about them. Does anybody have any suggestions for Nevaeh how she might deal with her worries?
The children have been identified as by the class teacher as maybe needing some work on developing their relationships to support their learning so it doesn't distract from their learning.
The local secondary school also recognises that emotional well-being is at the heart of all learning and has made it a priority.
At Gladesmore we consider emotional well-being to be very important, and so we take a whole school approach to it. Children are encouraged to be kind to each other, that relationships between staff and children and children are very positive. And it's the background or the framework that creates that enables the children to feel secure and stable within the school.
This school is absolutely fantastic when it comes to emotional well-being of students. We have a section or a department called Grovelands that deals with one-to-one mentoring. We deal with students that have maybe behavioural difficulties or emotional or social difficulties. We withdraw them from the curriculum and create a special timetable for them so they can access the learning, they can address the skills that might be quite difficult. It's a whole programme for a year tailored for them in order for them to be able to reintegrate properly back into the curriculum.
In our peer listening programme, at the moment I'm working with a Year 7. Every Friday I'd go and talk to her. Before I started working with her, she was very scared, and whenever we talked, she used to sort of shy away. But eventually, because we've become friends now, she talks to me and she opens up and she says exactly what her problems are, and she trusts me to help her.
We at Gladesmore, we're involved in a project called Value Live, and we deal with anti-gun and knife crime, and we try and promote that to children at our school. It has made a really good impact, and I think that it has got a lot of attention from the press and showing that children and people in Tottenham aren't all bad, and we can make a change if we really want to.
Young people who've suffered mental health problems themselves are helping develop the way Young Minds in schools works.
My mental health problems began at the age of 14. I started self-harming, and unfortunately I wasn't given the help that I needed at the time, and so the situation escalated until I reached crisis point. This is why I'm really passionate about schools giving young people the emotional support they need earlier on to stop them reaching crisis point. A group of us set up a schools initiative called SEED. SEED stands for Supporting Emotional and Educational Development, and this acts as a quality assurance mark or a kite mark to recognise and reward those schools that have made a substantial effort in supporting the emotional well-being of their students.
Training is of course vital, and Young Minds in Schools runs a series of courses.
Young Minds is providing training in a range of topics, particularly in attachment, neuroscience and learning, looking at how attachment anxiety can impact on the learning of vulnerable pupils in schools. Another training we've been developing is psychological perspectives on behaviour, encouraging schools to think not just in terms of rewards and sanctions, but to become more aware of the other models that inform our thinking, and hence the support we can put in place for pupils with behaviour and emotional social difficulties.
With the Young Minds in Schools project, we felt that we knew that there were things that children were worried about or upset about or emotionally distressed about, but we knew how to identify it, but what we didn't know was how to help the children. And I think one of the things that Young Minds is giving us is another way, it's a tool to use to help support the children. So it's giving us skills and ideas on how to help, and I think that's what we were missing before.
I attended the attachment neuroscience and learning training at Young Minds. I think it's given teachers support in actually giving a label or identifying why it is that certain children behave in a particular way, and to give them a better insight into it and strategies for them to cope with it. So in that sense, it's enabled some teachers to manage that sort of behaviour in class better.
I think one of the things that's central to the work we've been doing with schools over a number of years is the idea of a risk and resilience model. The key to that, I think, is understanding risk, which is about what contributes to vulnerability in children, what predisposes them towards mental health problems. And the issue there is how do we minimise risk. And then the other side of that balance is about resilience and building the capacity to be able to cope better with adversity despite the risk that may be present in their environments. The sort of training we provide will look at some very practical things that schools can do to promote resilience. So, for instance, one of the key components is about capacity for empathy and understanding other people's thoughts and feelings as a way to managing your own as well as relating to other people. So simple things like having a discussion about a piece of literature, what might be going on inside the head of a character that means they behave in particular ways. So you could do that through the curriculum, you could do it as part of the English language curriculum, but equally you could have a discussion where there's an opportunity around last night's EastEnders or Coronation Street. You know, it doesn't have to be Jane Austen that you're talking about to have those sorts of discussions with children. But it helps them develop a language for feelings, to differentiate feelings.
The cascading staff meetings that we've done, cascading the training that some of us have attended at Young Minds, has given staff a good overview.
So we need our books.
I think it's raising staff's awareness and profile about how children can be affected by the social emotional aspects of learning and how that then impacts on their classroom.
The Young Minds programme has been absolutely brilliant. I think most importantly for the training that the Young Minds has offered staff. I learned things that I didn't know before in terms of students, their behaviour, their emotional well-being. So that's helped me to be able to actually cascade that training down to other members of staff. So I think the training for me has been very, very invaluable.
The training that we had with Young Minds was in two parts. So we had the training for the intervention itself, but then also the sort of the more theoretical training about the science behind the work that we've been doing. And the idea was that we'd come back and share that training in a more condensed form with all of the staff. That training was absolutely fantastic, I have to say.
What's unique about the training that we're delivering is that the training is designed to support children's emotional well-being within the context of the curriculum. So we're looking at therapeutic teaching approaches that bring psychological mindedness to the educational environment. So it's not about taking the child out and doing something different with them and then bringing them back to the classroom, but looking to see how we can use particularly literacy, reading and writing to support the child in processing their emotional difficulties, to use reading to support the parent to be involved in a positive way with their child's learning.